So, Jake, you actually got to sit down with Nick Saban yesterday, so I will let you set this sound up.
All right, so the first question I asked him, we got right into it. Asked him about the comments that he made in Birmingham, and obviously he pointed out Texas A&M and others, and also Jimbo's rebuttal, and if he had a chance to see it, and maybe what his feeling was moving forward after he made his comments and Jimbo had a rebuttal.
Yeah, well, first of all, I should have never really singled anybody out. That was a mistake, and I really apologize for that part of it. But I'm not against name, image, and likeness. I think it's a great thing for players. Our players made a lot of money last year in name, image, and likeness. But, I told our players to, get an agent, get representation, make what you can make. Players have always been able to work, and I think that's a good thing. I think, the issue in college athletics in general now is, the whole system of collectives and people raising money to, basically pay players to come, whether it's to come to their school or, pay the players that are on their team. We've always strived in college athletics to make everything equal, make everything the same, whether it's scholarships, whether it's Alston money, whether it's, cost of attendance, academic support, whatever it is. And, now it's not really that way. And this has happened in basketball. It's happened in football. So, I really didn't mean to single anybody out. I apologize for that. But, it's the whole system. And is this a sustainable system? And is it really, good for college football? I think name, image, and likeness is good for college football. I just think, hell, you played for me, Jacob. I think my role, our role, is to have a program that creates value for guys' future. So they focus on getting an education, becoming better people, being a good person, learning habits that are going to help be successful, and see if they can develop a career as a football player. And, I think the focus now is getting a little bit more on how much money I can make while I'm playing and where can I make it. And I'm not sure that's really good systematically for any of us.
Great job getting the shout out from Coach Saban there, Jake. That was some pretty, like, that's a great clout answer right there. Getting the direct call out from the czar of college football. And look, my reaction to what I just heard is that.
What do you think about his apology? Like him coming out and saying,
well, that is the most confusing part to me. That is the most, okay, first off, to me, yes, because he did not single anybody out by accident, but I do not think he expected the flamethrower response. And when he got that from both his Aflac partner and a former coworker in Jimbo, he maybe realized, okay, maybe I went a little too hard to the paint. Like, we really don't want to start telling on each other, right? We want to keep this thing all nice and clean. So I think the apology is interesting, but the more interesting part to me is I take everything he's saying as truth at face value. I do believe that he does support what the kind of intention of NIL originally was, which is once you get on campus, then you play well enough or whatever to earn people wanting to use your name, image, and likeness. I do think that he is very turned off by the idea of buying college players. I also think that unlike Dabo Swinney, he will buy college players. Like, he will, if we keep these rules, or high school players. He will do what he needs to do in order to win. But I think the only thing where he's a little off base, man, is, like we've talked about, this is a toothpaste out of the tube situation. Like, I don't think there's any going back. And I get that being very tough for him, because why wouldn't it be? He is a 70-year-old man who has worked his entire life in this business, and it's been this one way. And now, within the span of 18 months, it is completely different. Like, true. It's almost like you lived in a communist country, and all of a sudden you have like a people's revolution, and you are in a true, like, democratic capitalistic society. Like, it is as different as it almost could be.
That's fair.
And so, of course, he's going to push back against that. The thing is, though, even with a voice as powerful as his, well, I think there will be some restrictions, and maybe you get into some sort of salary cap. Like, I don't know. Like, eventually there will be some things that try to corral it a bit. It's never going to go back to what it was. And that's where I get with this new NCAA leader, It needs to be someone who is willing to accept that, who is willing to accept the reality of what college football is, not cling to what it used to be, and someone who is willing to create a system going forward that operates with this new reality.
Yeah, that's perfectly said, actually, the way you kind of laid it out there, and because we've known it to be the same thing and look like the same thing, and there's not really been a change for so long. Yeah. And now it's not only changed, but it's flipped on its head, done a couple cartwheels, and done some backflips. I mean, that's what it feels like. And so, like, what the future of it looks like is even, like, can it get crazier? It's like, well, yeah, probably it can. It could probably get much crazier.
The market will eventually settle, right? And ultimately, as a capitalist, there's a lot of people in this listening audience that in any other facet of life would support this sort of open capitalism, but in college football, it is so different from what they're used to, they do not. But yeah, like, the reason why I think it will get crazier, Jake, is because if a school like Alabama, which does have collectives, but it's a collective that pays, I think it's like $20 to $25K to every player on the roster, and then you work NIL deals from there. When Alabama enters the mix, okay, then you're going to have Alabama bidding on high school players against A&M, against Texas, against LSU. And so, yes, the cap is going to go higher before it rubber bands back down. I do believe that.
Well, obviously, Coach Saban's had a lot of comments about maybe what this looks like moving forward, and we kind of threw it out there to him, like, look, if you've got the grease board and you're writing on it and you're trying to fix the NIL space in college football, how would you do it? Here was Coach Saban's answer.
Well, I don't think NIL in its original form, or what people wanted it to be, is really an issue at all. I think collectives are the issue. And I think one of the solutions would be if you have people that are representatives of your school that give money to a collective, and then the collective turns around and gives it to players on the team. Money. I'm not saying opportunities to represent. I'm saying money. Then that collective should become a representative of the institution, and they should not be able to give money to a player, just like an alumnus can't give money to a player. Now, if I'm an alumnus and I want to go through the marketing agent to create an opportunity for a player to represent my company, whether it's Coke or Mercedes-Benz or Tyson Foods or whatever it is, that's fine. That's what name, image, and likeness was supposed to be. But if alumni give money, or money is raised through a collective to use to give to players, that's no different than the alumni giving the player money. So the collective becomes a representative of the school and can't do that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess my issue with that, Jake, is, yes, I understand what he's saying, and that is the original rules as they were written, right? Where that boosters could not pay for play. You have to be paid for a service. But again, from a legal standpoint, all you need to do is one autograph signing, one post, one interview, and technically you have done work for me.
Done work for me, yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter. And so you had to understand that when the rules originally in place, they were incredibly easy rules to get around. Like, the loopholes were many and they were obvious. And it is very funny, kind of some of the mirroring of the political space where, years ago you had the Supreme Court declare that free speech, money is free speech, allowed for political super PACs, and it's something that people are very up in arms about, but it's hard to put money back in that tube. And you're going to see the same thing in college football. It's going to be very hard to stop these collectives from paying players because, again, if you try to cap the players, an antitrust lawsuit is already drafted. It's literally written up, just waiting to press send from lawyers around the country.
And we got a comment in the chat here, like he says, collectives are the issue from Nick Saban's what he just said. And they have like 3 collectives. The user
I don't know what a collective is, man. I don't know about that.
But like we've said about Coach Saban, again, like, he doesn't agree with it, but you better be damn sure he's going to do what he has to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. And somebody earlier was talking about Nick going full Dabo. That's the difference between Nick and Dabo.
Yes.
Dabo complains about it, transfer portal, NIL, doesn't really mess with it. Nick complains about it, wants to get it fixed, but he's going to go in the portal and get Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to go in the portal, get Keyshawn Butte, or not Keyshawn Butte.
Hey, he tried.
He tried. Elias Ricks.
$250K.
Right, you go get Elias Ricks, and then you go get other players, right? You go get Jameson Williams from Ohio State last year. Same thing with NIL. Like, they got collectives. He said collectives are the problem. They're going to have one as long as you can because they're not going to fall behind. That's kind of the big difference. You know, Jimbo had some comments. Coach Prime had some comments. He's got a relationship, obviously, with both of them. So here is us asking him if he's reached out to Jimbo or Deion Sanders.
I reached out to him. Never got a response, but you know, I feel bad about it, but I don't. I'm not changing my philosophy on. You know, I look at the betterment of college football. What is good for the game, and sometimes those things are not what's best for Alabama. But I've been doing this for a long time, and you know, my whole focus has always been, you know, how can we help players be successful? And I don't want to take anything away from them, and I don't want to take any opportunities away from them. I just, you know, I just think systematically this is, you know, all the guys that are transferring, and you know, I mean, it's a crazy world out there right now, and hopefully, you know, we can all get our heads together and. You know, make it so people can get back to focusing on what they need to do to develop while they're in college, get an education, and become better people, become better players, have a chance to play at the next level, which is, you know, what we've always tried to create.
And Coach, obviously SEC meetings are coming up in Destin at the end of this.
Yeah, we already got that answer with SEC meetings coming up. I wonder what that's going to be like. I wonder.
The meetings, or what he was just talking about right there?
The meetings, but go ahead with what.
Well, what he just said right there, I do take some of that at face value. A man who's been his whole life knowing things done one way is now having to accept things done a completely different way. But I do kind of echo a little bit of what Deion said in response to Saban yesterday, where he said, quote, Coach Saban wasn't talking to me. Coach Saban wasn't talking to Jimbo Fisher. He was talking to his boosters. He was trying to get money. So, yes, let's be clear. He can legitimately lament the direction of college football, but his end game in that Birmingham touchdown club was to raise money. Like, that was the end game, was to get as much money to operate within this new setting of college football as you can. So even in there, you find a little bit of a dual benefit from what Saban's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, when he speaks, he's speaking to someone.
Yes.
He knows it's going to be recorded. Probably knows he's going to catch some flack. Now, didn't probably know it's going to be to the extent. Probably said some things that he'd like to walk back a little bit, but he knows there's nothing he can. This man can never go out in public and say something that won't be recorded.
Yeah,
like just almost impossible, right? So he knows that, and when you peel back the layers, it's exactly who he was talking to. Now, there were some strays. There were some strays that were flying out of Birmingham. And a lot of people didn't like him, but that's who he was talking to. They have collectives. They need it to be more. Can it be more than Texas A&M? That's a different question. But
so there's a great article up on Anscape.com where they talk to Coach Prime about all this, and I love some of these quotes. Just quote, I haven't talked to Coach Saban. I'm sure he's tried to call, but we need to talk publicly, not privately. What you said was public. That doesn't require a conversation. Let's talk publicly and let everybody hear that conversation. Said, no, look, I still love him, still admire him, respect him. He's magna cum laude of college football, and that's what it's going to be because he's earned that. But he took a left when he should have stayed right. I'm sure he'll get back on course. I ain't tripping, but here's the best part. He said, and, you know, he kind of referenced all the relationships he has in football.
Right.
And he says, quote, I don't even wear a watch, and I know what time it is. They forget. I know who's been bringing the bag and dropping it off. I know this stuff. I'm not the one you want to play with when it comes to all this stuff. So in the same way that Jimbo basically said, hold up now, be careful throwing stones because I know where the bodies are. Yeah. Deion knows too, but the thing is Deion doesn't even have as much skin in the game as Jimbo does. Like if anybody could really whistle blow, I don't think he will, but if he wanted to, Deion Sanders is perfectly positioned to be able to do so.
A lot of people that are, and I think Deion's different, Coach Prime's a little different than Jimbo because he's new to the coaching profession, hasn't been in it as long, and hasn't been an assistant under Nick, but there's people saying, okay, hey, we know what happened if you really want to get into this, but they were either on the staff or maybe, you know, were partaking in some of the same things. And it's like, I could do it if I want to. I'm not. I could do it, though, if I wanted to, because they understand what that does, right?
Yes.
Opens themselves up to some of the same things that would happen if they open it up there. So I don't really know if anything's going to come from that, T. Just a lot of coaches
I don't think so. I think everybody's
but everybody knows that information kind of already.
Yeah, it's drawing a gun. It's not, they're going to pull the trigger. They're in a little bit of a standoff here. The old Mexican standoff. Everybody's pointing guns at one another trying to calm down.